In this video, I would like to talk about a creature called Polednice from Czech and Slavic folklore. You might know it from The Witcher 3 as Noonwraith. It's sometimes also called Lady Midday in English. Most people in my country learn about it from childhood, and that's for a few reasons. The first reason is the collection of poems called Kytice by Karel Jaromír Erben, which includes a poem called Polednice. Kytice is one of our most famous literary works which everybody learns about in primary school, and since Polednice is one of the most memorable poems from the book, everybody knows this creature. The poem is pretty short and it tells a story about a mother who stands by a stove and prepares lunch for her husband. Their child misbehaves and the mother threatens that she will call upon Polednice to take the child away. But the child doesn't heed her warning and continues misbehaving, throwing toys around. The mother can't take it anymore and actually calls Polednice in anger. She doesn't really mean it though, because when Polednice comes eventually and wants to take the misbehaving child, its mother is afraid and holds it tightly to herself. In the end, she faints with fear. Later, the father comes from work. When he sees what happened, he manages to revive the mother with difficulty. However, the mother accidentally smothered the child with her own embrace. Kytice was also adapted into a movie and this ballad is in it, although they made a slight change and portrayed Polednice as a normal human that everybody thinks is Polednice, but it's just a beggar, which makes the death of the child even more tragic, but I still prefer the original version. Back to the actual Polednice. She makes herself evident in the middle of hot summer days, takes the form of whirling dust clouds and carries a scythe, sickle or shears. She will stop people in the field to ask them difficult questions or engage them in the conversation. If anyone fails to answer a question or tries to change the subject, she will cut off their head or strike them with illness. She may appear as an old decrepit hag, a beautiful woman or a 12-year-old girl. She is only seen on the hottest part of the day and is a personification of a heat stroke. According to the beliefs, Polednice loves to dance. If she sees a girl lying down to rest in the field, she will wake her up and begin to persuade her to dance. If the girl agrees, she will be forced to dance until the beginning of evening. It is said that Polednice cannot be beaten in dancing. However, if a girl manages to do it, the noon spirit will present her with a rich dowry. Polednice was also useful in scaring children away from valuable crops. One thing from my childhood I still vividly remember to this day is when we were on a walk in the woods with my siblings and our mom one time. As we were going home in the evening, exiting the forest and the sun was setting, we entered the village and there is this small chapel. Its bell was ringing, so we were asking our mom why that is. And she told us that it's a custom called klekání, and that creature called Klekanice is connected to this custom. Klekání is a ringing of bells that occurred 3 times a day, at dawn, noon and in the evening. The name of the custom is derived from the words klekat or klečet, which means kneeling. When the bell rang, people would stop their work, kneel down and say the prayer Angelus Domini. Traditionally, the ringing of bells for the klekání lasted for the duration of this prayer, which is about 2.5 minutes. Since the prayer consists of 3 biblical verses, sometimes the bell ringing had a double interruption. In times when wearing watches was not common, this tradition also served to mark the time. People would wake up in the morning klekání, have lunch at noon one, and send their children to sleep at the evening one. The evening klekání would signal older children to return home. According to legends, if someone was late for the noon klekání, Polednice could abduct them. And in the evening it could be the Klekanice, which could also be called Půlnočnice, and you might know it from The Witcher 3 as Nightwraith. It's a female spirit which will catch every child who is still outside after the bell stops ringing. This story scared me a bit when I was a kid, but today I'm thinking of it fondly, because it's one of the connections I have to Slavic folklore, and I think it's a pretty cool horror story for kids to make them return home on time in the evening. It was pretty common practice around my country that parents throughout the countryside used to scare children with Klekanice in the past. By the way, if you want to see a good short film with Nightwraith, watch an episode of The Witcher Stories called Desire. It has a great creepy atmosphere which I always love when it comes to folklore and fairy tales. Polednice also appears in a song called Švidriga I Midriga by the Polish band Żywiołak. If I understand it correctly, the song is an adaptation of a poem by Boleslav Lešman. It tells the story of two drunks who encounter Polednice in the field at noon. Polednice splits into two and dances with the drunks. But in the end, both of her halves die from exhaustion. Even after they are buried, the corpses are still dancing in their coffins together with the whole cemetery. I highly recommend checking out the song, it's very catchy. So that's all I have about these folklore creatures for now. If you ever find yourself in the wheat fields on a hot summer day during noon or in the evening, be wary of Polednice and Klekanice. Stay safe and enjoy the rest of this summer.